The future of work is changing faster than anyone can predict. Most jobs that will define the next decade don't even actually exist yet. But there are some who are not waiting for the future of work, they are actually building it. Nouhalia Chelkhaoui, the founder of Scale Without Borders, and Alfred Burgesson, the founder of Tribe Network, are two of them. Nouhalia and Alfred are here to join me today. I wanted to talk to them about the entrepreneurial mindset and what it takes to build the next generation of work. I'm Emily Madden, and this is the MNL Show. Nouhalia, Alfred, thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So let's dive right into it with you guys. You're both entrepreneurs. I'm super curious about your origin stories. What made you guys decide to create something where nothing existed before? Maybe Alfred, I'll start with you.
Sure. Where to begin? I would start in high school.
Okay.
My entrepreneurship journey began in high school when I joined Junior Achievement.
Yeah.
And so after school program, students coming together to start a company.
Okay.
And I guess that's the moment when I realized, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so after high school, I started my first business in Halifax. And it was a digital media company. And I remember walking into our local innovation hub and not seeing people that looked like me in there. And not seeing myself represented both in the members of the space, but also the team, the board. And that's when I think for me, I started to think about what's something that can complement what they've built for folks who I don't see reflected. And so that's when the idea for Tribe sort of began, was through my own entrepreneurship journey. And then I went on to work with the Assembly of First Nations, with the senators, doing research around inclusive entrepreneurship. And so those, my personal experience, and then working with various groups like the First Nations really inspired me to start Tribe.
I got you young. Tell us about Tribe.
So Tribe is an entrepreneurship innovation hub. Our mandate is to support racialized founders. And so we're based in Halifax, but we work with founders across the country. And we tend to work with tech and innovation kind of driven entrepreneurs. So folks work in the AI space, folks building products that are scalable globally, are the types of companies we support.
Cool. Nouhalia, what about you?
Well, similar to Alfred, my story comes from personal experience. I was born and raised in Morocco, and at the age of 17, I decided to, with the blessings of my parents, to pack my one suitcase, take a one-way flight to Canada. And I came initially for university. It was great, very challenging. But what was more challenging was actually after I graduated, left Canada, came back again. I was fresh all over again, and I was looking for a job. I thought, I have a degree, I have good grades, I should be good. It was extraordinarily difficult to find a job with my qualifications that matched my skill set, that matched my passions. But I'm very persistent. I definitely persevere. So I eventually did land my dream job after picking up a few kind of $11 an hour kind of jobs, and I started working eventually at a tech incubator, which was really exciting. And then on the side, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna launch a space for newcomers like me to help them as well. I thought, just like you, this is just from my own personal experience. It might just be a small group of people. But our first event launched out, our first launch test event, it sold out. And so we decided to officially launch. And that's when our hashtag Scale Without Borders sort of started trending. And that's when I realized, this is actually a movement. This is a whole business.
Movement.
Yeah.
Amazing. So tell me about Scale.
So Scale Without Borders, we are now the largest platform for immigrants in tech. We support immigrants, immigrant tech job seekers, as well as founders in succeeding through building their network, through our programs, and through our platform. And we also work with partners to help them tap into immigrant tech talent and also work with immigrant founders.
So you are both entrepreneurs yourself and working regularly with entrepreneurs. So you have kind of a good perspective into what makes an entrepreneur. And I've been kind of playing with this idea in my mind. Maybe you can help me answer it. Do you think entrepreneurship is a mindset, or do you think it's a skill set? Maybe Alfred.
That's a great question. I mean, I think it requires both.
Okay.
In that, like, when I think about my journey, when you first start out, like, there's a lot of things you don't know, right? And, you know, you have to have a mindset of, I will figure it out, right? Yeah. Like, you have to have a mindset of, I don't know the answer, but I will find it out. And I think where the skill set is built is when you are able to, like, practice doing things and to realize that the first time I did that didn't work so well, but now this is something that I'm fluent in. And so, give you an example, you know, as you scale a business, some businesses require you to have a board of directors. Yep. Right? You're going to be managing up and then you're going to be managing down as a CEO. And learning how to manage up and manage down is something that you just don't have right away. It comes with practice. And so I think it does require a mindset. Sometimes it requires you to be delusional. Right? You know, when the odds are against you, you have to be the person to say, it's going to work and I'm going to do everything in my power to make this thing work. And so it requires a mindset, but I think there are skills you can build as you kind of repeat.
Like a fear tolerance, right? Like a kind of uncertainty that you have to just have. And it sounds like you had it very early in high school.
I think so, yeah. And it's not for everyone, you know. I think everyone has the potential to be an entrepreneur, but at the end of the day, back to what you said, like being able to stomach like that fear and, you know, when there's payroll due next week and you look at the bank account and you're like, how are we gonna get there? Like, not everyone can go through that. So this is where the mindset comes in for sure.
I'd add it's the way I think about it is it's an energy.
Okay.
And also a belief system, believing in things that you cannot see, embracing the unknown. And yeah, to your point, the skills is something that you learn, I think, afterwards. Like, you know, to your point, like some things I had to learn operationally. That wasn't something that I was always very good at. Okay, we need operations, we need these spreadsheets, we need these we need this cash flow management and financial projections. Those are all skills, but they can be learned. The tough part is the belief system and the keep going even when things are not adding up.
So like, how does that click for you? When does that click for you? It's like, oh, you know what? I can do this. I should do this.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think when I initially started Scale Without Borders, there's a complete detachment to outcome. I never really attached to an outcome. I wasn't thinking this is going to be a successful business. I was thinking, I just want to support, I want to create a space.
Right.
But then the market responded, and that's when I was like, okay, there's some evidence here. But the trick is you got to keep going even through the ups and downs, because there's after the success, there's also going to be a dip. And there's going to be challenges that come through. And so one mentor once told me to get off the roller coaster. It's just, you know, even when things go really high, that's great, you can ride that. But when things are very low, you also just need to keep, you know, just stick to that original vision that you had.
Yeah. This is interesting because it's you both describing mission driven, right? It's from personal experience. So you guys are building your businesses and you're creating something not because it's the safe thing to do. You know, markets are in flux. Who knows what kind of job to go into? You're doing it because it's the necessary thing to do, right? So you must have a strong personal conviction tied to the outcomes of the work that you're doing. I don't know if you want to speak to that at all.
Yeah, I mean, in the work that we do, it's really empowering underrepresented entrepreneurs, right? And I mean, it's really interesting because it went from something that was seen as something we needed to do, and now it's been coined as wokeness or some sort of political agenda, which I think is unsettling and troubling. But ultimately, I mean, the numbers, if you look at the numbers when it comes to whether it's gender diversity within organizations or racial diversity, if you're looking at it from a pure economic play,
for sure,
there are returns to be made. And so I think I have a lot of conviction, not just because the numbers and the data shows it, but I work with entrepreneurs who I've seen them go from idea to, getting venture back to scaling globally. And, once you see that a few times, it's hard not to believe that there's opportunity and a lot of potential that is underutilized.
I agree completely. And actually, let's shift to that because I think that's a very strong point where we should take the conversation. There's kind of this, maybe paraphrasing what you're saying, there's this idea that that's like social innovation or like social inclusion when we're thinking about bringing everybody to the labor market. But we're actually talking about GDP, right? We're talking about productivity and how Canada is scaling. One of the stats that is kind of ringing around my mind is this idea that most jobs that we're going to see, like even in 5 years, don't actually even exist yet, right? And so we're talking about preparing a country for constant change. And that's where I'm kind of thinking about not only the inclusion aspect, but that sort of entrepreneurial aspect. Like, how do you prepare people for uncertainty in your field?
Well, from a business perspective, startup perspective, or from like talent, job seeking?
Either. Let's start from a business perspective.
From business perspective, well, I think, for us, what we do at Scale Without Borders is we always provide, training programs for entrepreneurs to help them. AI is really huge right now. Artificial intelligence is really big right now. So if you are not actually hopping on the AI bandwagon, you're going to be left out. People are automating their processes, their sales processes, their operational processes, their hiring, their onboarding. And if you do not get on board with that, you are going to be left out as a business. And same with jobs as well, like talent, job seekers. They're already seeing layoffs due to AI. It's out in the open now. Companies don't hide that anymore. They're saying, no, we're laying off because we have AI now. So job seekers need to get on board with that and learn those new skills.
I'll add to that and just say, the diversity we have in Canada is, I think, one of our most undervalued assets in the sense of, in today's world, trade with the US is at risk. Our country's looking at diversifying trade. Why are we not tapping into people that are coming from different parts of the world to access new trade routes or new trade opportunities, right? Like, that is an immense opportunity that I believe we can take advantage of because we have the diversity here. But if we look at that diversity as something that is an other or something that is less than, we're literally leaving opportunities on the table in terms of how we diversify our trade.
Absolutely. I think actually, Nouhaila, we were having a conversation off camera about global citizens, right? If you want to build global companies, tapping into people who understand culture, who understand language, is a huge asset for our GDP. I don't know if you wanted to continue on that piece.
Absolutely. To your point, so we support immigrants, and one of the things that we advocate for is immigrants will bring skill sets, perspectives, talents, knowledge, languages that you don't have and you don't know. And so I do think that we are lagging a bit as a country in terms of, there's so much potential. And part of that is that we're not leveraging our global presence and our global perspectives as much. One way to do that is to enable immigrants who bring those things to work in your companies, to help you expand your companies. These are global citizens, as you call them, to help you sell to these new markets, to these new cultures. So that's something that I think there's a lot of room for improvement for.
I was thinking about the concept of adaptability in practice, right? So as you're describing, AI is a conversation that everybody's having right now. And I think that when you're talking about entrepreneurs, there's sort of two sides of the conversation maybe that you guys are dealing with. And maybe there's more you can help me understand. But I think when people talk about, you have to get on board with AI, there's either you have to learn the skills of how to work with this technology and make yourself more productive. There's kind of the personal use case of how you work with these tools. But then there's also the investor side, the commercialization side, right? Are you an actual tech entrepreneur? Are you building something with these tools? Are you using these tools to build a business? And I'm curious, I know both of you guys, your organizations work with kind of more tech agile entrepreneurs, but maybe you can speak a little bit about how you're seeing that. Are you seeing more tech companies? Are you seeing more calls for tech training in terms of entrepreneurship? Like how is that constant ever presence of AI showing up in your worlds?
Yeah, great question. I mean, there's a spectrum for sure of like folks who are integrating AI within their business for like efficiency and productivity. And then we do have folks who are, creating products.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. There's a student out of Memorial University who we've been supporting for the last couple of years. And he immigrated from Nigeria. Mm-hmm. He went to computer science at Memorial and had a bit of a social language barrier, and that kind of got in the way of his studies and understanding or comprehension. This kid decided to build a version of ChatGPT that would not give him the answer, but that would coach him and help him get to the answer that he's looking for. And he built this for himself to get through exams. And his students were, his friends or his classmates were like, can we have that?
Yeah.
And he then spun it out into an actual platform called ScanSolve.
Okay.
And, here you go having essentially a personal problem, a personal challenge, and now creating this product that is now personalized for each user that uses it. And so whether you're a grade 6 student or a master's student, based on your comprehension, based on your aptitude, this platform is literally able to personalize the tutoring to what your needs are. And so Collins is a story that I always share. He started ScanSolve, and from kind of solving a problem for himself to now over 5 million people around the world.
5 million.
5 million people around the world are using it.
It's an excellent story and an excellent example. I'm glad you shared, because it does bridge the difference between kind of the individual use case versus the benefit. It also feels like a very Canadian way to approach kind of a business. Like, I'm just going to make work with what I have because I need to solve some problem that I have. And then my friends are like, hey, that's really cool. Can I have one of those? Like, I like that kind of deployment origin story.
It's organic, right?
Yeah.
Because my worry a little bit with like, AI is a wave, and you're right, like people are going to have to adopt AI. I think before adoption, there needs to be focus on literacy, like more wholesome look at AI. My worry is that people and founders will say we are an AI company, and they either have no expertise or domain expertise or experience within the problem they're trying to solve. And I think that's where you see issues and really like a higher rate of failure. But if you're using AI to supercharge a problem or a solution that you have personal experience with, I think that's where there are, I guess, really unlimited potentials in terms of growth.
You said AI is a wave. Can you just help me understand what you mean by that? And I think it also ties into what Nouhaila was saying, but can you, what do you mean by that? It's a fad? It's like a surge? Like, what is it?
It's a tsunami.
Okay, it's a tsunami.
How about that? I think maybe that's a more appropriate way to put it, in that, like, it will proliferate everything that we use today and how we live over the course of the future. So that's really what I mean by it's a wave. It's you can't stop a wave. So those are my thoughts. I think it's something that is totally going to proliferate how we live, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts too.
I mean, absolutely. I'm a little bit on the worried side of things. I'm worried about AI personally, even as a technologist, as someone who works there. I think, AI is completely going to change the way that we look at things, but also I don't think that it's all positive. I think there will be some serious consequences. Maybe this is beyond the scope of this conversation, but I'm happy
Nothing's beyond the scope.
Okay.
Yeah, tell me.
Well, just from there's been, when AI leaders are actually warning of the consequences, people who actually built this, that's something that we need to pay attention. There's concerns around weapons of mass destruction with AI. For instance, there's of course security, like cybersecurity concerns as well around AI. And then there's like a little bit more woo-woo stuff like AI gaining consciousness, but I think that really is beyond the scope of this conversation.
So you just had a big conference, Immigrants in Tech.
Yes, exactly.
And so I know you were having a lot of conversations around cybersecurity and various kind of elements to AI. Any insights that came out of the conference that you particularly wanted to share with me?
Yeah, so we will be posting that recording, which I unfortunately couldn't attend because I was running around. But Amber Mack hosted, and you probably know her, she hosted a session around entitled, Will AI Cause an Apocalypse, or will AI
now
trigger?
We know why you're concerned.
Trigger an apocalypse. To be honest, I was concerned for before. I do think in general it is it's a good. We're moving. I'm not saying stop AI, as you said. We can't stop a wave. But I think one of the things that came out of that conversation is to add humanity to it and to really, add that. But I don't want to speak for them. I'd rather just share the recording whenever it's ready. So that's my concern. Yeah.
This, I think, is an excellent bridge, because I agree also that when we talk about AI as an industry onto itself, of course, there are elements of that industry, like there are elements of any industry, right? So you have data centers and you have compute power and you have research that needs to go into this. But we also need to think about, as you said, AI that is actually proliferating and changing every single industry that we work in. And so for our founders and for our entrepreneurs, is it true that they all need to see themselves in some way or another as a technologist, right? Because it is going to be a part of whatever business that they're building, whether it's a gourmet cookie company that has an incredible online, purchasing and delivery system using these tools, or whether it's actually, building an app that leverages some of these tools more directly. Are you seeing that kind of narrative coming up in your communities and from your founders?
Yeah, I mean, it's already there.
Yeah.
And if you have a business and you haven't paid attention to technology, pay attention now. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, to build on that, it's when the internet started and when it came, if you were a business owner and you wanted to reach more customers, you likely were going to join the internet and create a website, right? And use ads to promote your business. And I think AI, there's going to be a version of that. And I mean, businesses themselves will use AI, I would say, involuntarily, whether it's for bookkeeping, right? Yeah, the platforms you use for bookkeeping will likely integrate AI. So that's what I really mean, is that it will be adopted over time, whether it's, whether the person running the bakery is not creating AI, they're going to be using AI through the different kind of platforms they need to run the business.
And do you think, I'm going to kind of move to your constituencies a little bit, or when we think about the next generation of founders, or kind of a younger generation of people who are just kind of starting out into this industry, do you think that the next generation sees kind of just stability in general differently than maybe even your generation, or the ones kind of, mine or later did? And what I mean by that, I'll be a little bit more direct, is we used to kind of think you go to school, you get credentials, you get a job, like there's your life set, and you kind of build the other things around it. But we're seeing an advance in the gig economy, which I think is a fantastic thing. You're seeing a lot more entrepreneurial activity. Are you thinking that this is a generational thing, like a next generation defining what it means to be a Canadian?
There's like two different ways to look at it. One is, I do think there's like an incredible amount of like lack of trust within the institutions and that kind of linear pathway. I think a lot of young people are like, yeah, that's not working, or like that's not reality for them anyway. Maybe it might have been reality for generations before, but I do feel like a lot of young people feel like they've been lied to.
Yes, yeah, we're hearing that a lot.
The reality is not matching what was promised. So there's that. I think that is definitely worth acknowledging. I also do think with AI, and I think generally speaking, because they've been lied to, or they feel they've been lied to, and they see kind of a fundamentally different world than what was promised. One of the things that I do see emerging, and we have to talk about, is like, what is the future of work? Like, are people going to work for a paycheck? Like, I'm not sure young people want that. I certainly am enjoying the work that I do, and I have peers who, have ambitions in the professional world and want to contribute and earn a paycheck. But I see increasingly young people asking the question, well, if I can't afford a home, right? If I don't have a job, if I can't qualify for jobs, and the job market's not to my benefit at this point, then what's the point, right? And so I think times are going to get very interesting. As you see, recently there was I saw a graph, and I can share this, that showed the S&P 500, and you see it kind of ticking upwards, and then recently, kind of along the same graph, it shows the number of job openings, and it's going down. And so there's like, and this is like almost like one of the first times in history where typically the S&P 500 ticks up with job openings.
As the market goes up, jobs go up,
And since 2023, which lines up with kind of when ChatGPT and OpenAI kind of launched, you're starting to see a kind of a divergence in that trend. And so I do think we're going to have to ask a question like, what is work? And how do you compensate, and how do you ensure people have a good quality of life in a world where they don't have jobs, or they can't find work? So that's something that I think we have to pay attention to as well.
I think and just to qualify the kind of, we've been lied to, you're referring to the perceived kind of break in the social contract, right? It used to be, you do this, you get a job, you pay your mortgage, you get a house, you raise your kids, and I agree. Like, the preparing for the future of work, especially if we're talking about preparing for a world where we don't even know what the future of work is going to be. Like, we do not have a way to say, this industry is going to be the one. All kids should get an education in this, and they'll be able to like have a fantastic career. It seems that no longer exists. And so that's why I'm really fascinated and fired up about the conversation about the entrepreneurial skill set, and not only about the skill set of an entrepreneur, but just the mindset, right, of being those things. And I wonder, like, can you teach somebody to build things or be a builder or think like a builder if they've never thought like that before, if they've never thought that if they don't see themselves as an entrepreneur? And I know that you work both with Nouhaila, both with kind of talent and with founders. And like, are you seeing that at all, an opportunity there?
Well, my opinion would actually be, I think we need to take a step back and, yes, now we can teach people entrepreneurial skills, but this starts really early on. I think, is there a way that, I do think the schooling system is really outdated from high school. I think the way we have these like classes, we have these periods, we have this grade system, you pass, you fail. It's no surprise that many entrepreneurs were actually not, your straight A students. So our schooling system is not really preparing, people for the real world. So I think it definitely starts there. But then of course, even now, entrepreneurship is not something that is taught. You can only do it. So, that just more opportunity for actual doing. Yeah.
So on opportunity, both of your organizations exist to expand opportunity, right? For immigrants, for Black and racialized founders, for people who we have typically maybe not seen, as you said, kind of at the forefront of the conversation. Is there something, like you're sort of dancing around it a little bit, like what are we still getting wrong in Canada about inclusion and about how we support everybody in the labor market? Alfred, maybe I'll start with you.
Sure. I'll share through my experience what I've seen. Tribe is one of many hubs in Canada. We're funded by federal government, provincial government, and academia, private sector, corporations support our work, and we're so grateful for that. One of the things that I see, and it's a bit of a cultural thing that I think needs to shift, is treating the work that we do as like it's over here. It's like its own industry. Exactly. Yeah. It's like it's in its own silo, right? And I think that is there's a risk there because in Canada, you have things like the Black Entrepreneurship Program, you have the LGBTQ Business Ecosystem Fund. So these are government initiatives to invest in diversity in the entrepreneurship space. But again, it's treated as like this thing over here. Yeah. We're going to fund these organizations to work with these groups.
Yeah. We're going to name it and put it in this box.
Yeah. Instead of, what about the billions of dollars in the Global Clusters Initiative or within the IP initiatives or within the Scale AI initiatives? How are we ensuring that these people that we're funding over here have
part of that
pathways and bridges into the mainstream? And so I think that's kind of the biggest risk I see is if we keep treating the people and the work we do as like this thing off to the side as a nice to have. We are, we're not doing ourselves any favors because ultimately, for the investments to really have returns, we need those people within kind of mainstream programs and ecosystems as well.
Nouhalia, what about from you?
I'll add an additional perspective to, not that I think Canada is doing anything wrong, but I think we are lagging a little bit. I don't think we're aggressive enough. We are very Canadian in our, in our business and our entrepreneurial kind of drive, and that demotivates even the motivated entrepreneurs. It creates red tape. What I mean by that is, for example, buyers take a long time to circle back. Investors are not investing capital as fast as, definitely nowhere as fast as the United States, and not to put the onus on investors because they also have a certain amount of capital that they can deploy, right? Yeah. I do think that the Canadian tax system is not favorable for entrepreneurs, and that is also a little bit disheartening for entrepreneurs. So I think one thing we should be doing more of is take more risks. Say yes before we see evidence. So give entrepreneurs a chance, buy the product, invest early on, invest in first-time founders. If the only way we can break, these silos or become more inclusive is to invest in first-time founders, right? First-time founders, not just the same old founders that you know. So these are just some things that we can do to become a little bit more aggressive in Canada. We are slow. Yeah, sure.
Let's pivot on this maybe kind of last question for you guys, and I wish I had more time to chat with you guys. It's a phenomenal conversation. If you let's bring our crystal ball out and let's look ahead. Okay, we've got the future ahead of us. Let's go out like 10 years. What gives you the most hope about the Canadian entrepreneurship landscape, about founders in this country in particular? How are you seeing that 10 years from now?
What gives most hope for Canadian entrepreneurs? Well, I think Canada does, well, in general, we do a good job in attracting great talent. There's, of course, a lot of bottleneck going on. But, we do attract amazing talent from around the world. Some of the top talent, they decide to come here. They pick here to go to university or to start their businesses. We should leverage that more. And I think we will continue to do that if we play our cards right. I think that we are going to start to see more positive sentiment towards immigrants, especially what's going on in the United States right now, especially in New York. So hopefully more, just enabling more immigrants, and I'm speaking from an immigrant's perspective because that's my bias here. I think that, but it's possible that the opposite might happen as well. So we really need to play our cards right in supporting and being as inclusive and as enabling as possible towards diverse talent.
Absolutely. Alfred?
All right, I got my crystal ball here.
Yeah.
Okay.
In 10 years, if we play our cards right, like you say, I think we will see more of, folks that are being treated as the side silo into the mainstream. And, in Toronto's so multicultural that I see, people of color in leadership positions. Yeah. I'm on the East Coast.
Right.
I don't see that as much. It's rare. And so I think for Canada, Canada's not just Toronto, so for Canada as a whole to realize its full potential, it does need to embrace, underrepresented people in leadership. We need to look to them for ideas like you're doing here. That needs to be adopted more within the corporate world, and not just what are ideas, we'll write them down and we'll go try to implement them. It's no, here, you take the lead. We'll follow your lead.
Yeah.
And again, trade is one that I can point to today is if we're looking to diversify our trade relations from just the US, how are we tapping into folks from South America? How are we tapping into folks from Africa? How are we tapping into folks from the Middle East? How are we tapping into folks from Asia as part of that strategy? I'm not sure we're there yet, but if we want to realize our full potential in the next 10 years, we're going to have to lean into those folks that are here because they're currently, I would say, undervalued.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, for your perspective, for being here, and for the conversation. Alfred, Nouhalia, thank you.
Thank you. That was really fun. Really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you.